Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast, an episode with a slight difference this week in that we don't have a guest. No, I know, and you know how organised I usually am, Finton, so it pains
Well,
me to say that sentence.
It's Easter holidays, so it's completely understandable. People are busy. We've had a couple of cancellations due to school midterms and all that kind of stuff.
Hey, did you get any Easter eggs?
I didn't. My son did. The Easter Bunny found our new place, and there was eggs. So I've been helping him eat them. As I kind of stepped up.
Responsible.
Yeah, I thought so.
My kids didn't get any, right? And no, it gets worse. They didn't get any Easter eggs, and of course, every fucking adult they saw that day was like, "Did you get any Easter eggs?" And my kids were like, "No." And they did it like that. They were like, "No, why would we?"
Single tear.
But it was, they had in fact been saying to me on Friday that they'd rather have savoury things than sweet things generally. So I'm like, okay, we can do that. And they
regret that.
They had Easter eggs waiting for them at their mum's.
Oh, okay.
And they'd had Easter eggs here a couple of weeks ago because I found the Easter eggs that my sister had given them last year, which were now out of date. But it's chocolate; it only goes so off. And they had those. So I don't feel I fed basically I didn't get my kids Easter eggs. I fed them out of date chocolate, and I'm a terrible parent.
Yeah, it sounds it.
I'm not doing great, am I?
No.
But I say that in front of my kids, and they was like, "No, you're a lovely dad." I'm like, "It's only because you've only got me as a point of reference. Wait until you're older and you meet other kids' dads."
You see what normal actually looks like.
Yeah, man, sucks.
It's just a rite of passage. That'll be fun.
Yeah, they'll be all right. They're such lovely kids. But it was my middle child's 9th birthday on Friday, the big 09.
Good age.
Yeah, he's fabulous. He's such a lovely person. I'm a big fan. And he did okay. He got, and controversial, but he got a mobile phone.
That's about the age. Yeah, that makes sense.
So he and his sister both have phones now. Annie's 11. She'll be 12 later this year. So that's ideal. But also one of Annie's good friends moved away, so it made really good sense for them to stay in contact.
That's nice.
But I tell you what, this is the thing that made me proud, right? So sure. Joe, my son, has a friend who used to live opposite. Now his folks, they split up, sadly. So he now lives in a nearish town, but nearish 30, 40 minutes away. But he's over here every other weekend. Great. So every other weekend, his mate pops around and all that. But since Joe now has a phone, when they weren't playing together, his mate was constantly calling him using the Snapchat call option, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean constantly. So Joe asked me to sort something out on his phone. So I'm sorting out his phone. And it's like, it rings, so I decline the call. And then there's like 8 messages. Answer the call. Please answer. And I just message back saying, dude, calm down. Why? Why don't you answer the call? Why do you want me to calm down? This is Joe's dad. I'm just sorting something out on his phone, and you need to chill. Anyway, when I give Joe the phone back later, I'm like, yeah, you've got a few messages there from your mate. He's like, oh, okay, thanks. I'm like, yeah, do you think he might need to calm down a bit? What do you mean? He said, well, you've basically been on a call with him all day, except for when you've actually been in his company. And Joe, he just sort of sat there and thought about it. And I when I was growing up, my parents were always like really dismissive of my friends and really unpleasant about them on the whole. And there's nothing wrong with my friends at all. I think sometimes you forget what it's like to be young. But what I heard Joe say next time his mate called, I heard Joe just say to him, "Do you think maybe you should call a bit less?" And I listened to my 9-year-old son set a really nice, polite, but very firm boundary with his friend. And I'm like, I paid a fortune in therapy to learn what you've just done automatically as a 9-year-old.
You see, so on one hand, you're saying, "Oh, look, crap parents didn't get Easter eggs," but then on the other hand, you're absolutely nailing it. So that's teaching your kids that kind of stuff is brilliant.
But actually, you might have already learned that from Fern. Who knows?
Doesn't matter. It's a team effort. It's always a team effort, mate.
You say that, Fenton, but let's not get into the team dynamic because it's a controversial subject. But we are going to discuss the gambling industry in a complete change of form.
We are.
Yeah, we are. So, right, listen, there was a story there's a bunch of stories, right? But one that I was reading the other day was, I mean, I'd love to be a top executive because it seems like even when you're judged to have completely fucked up, you get life-altering amounts of money. Sorry, amounts of money that to me would be life-altering, but which are just part of a severance package in some fantastic contract. I saw the Entain severance thing the other day, and I'm like looking at the numbers, and I'm like,
what did she
me.
get? Was it?
There's like a long-term incentives thing which kicks in at the end of the year. I think in total it's over 5 million.
Really?
It's for part of it's for being a good sport about leaving, and part of it's this long-term incentives thing.
Well, so she'd have given up her share options or whatever she'd have had.
But my apologies to anybody listening if I've got that number wrong. But it was a number that to me is like it's a fantasy number.
In the millions. Yeah, for that kind of money, you could give me whatever nickname you wanted. Who's the real winner here?
Totally. I mean, I'd send nudes for less. That'll surprise some people, but not many.
Yeah, that. So then it shows then that she didn't quit. So if you're getting a severance like that, that's kind of like, look, we really want you to go. This isn't working. Here's a bunch of cash. Thank you very much. And I haven't read the article, so I could be talking to my Irish, but that would suggest that wasn't oh yeah, look, maybe it is for the best that I go kind of situation.
Yeah, it's here, have some money, now go.
Yeah, but then she might have had something like what you can have like if you're you can have like clauses in your contract of if for whatever reason, as long as it's not gross negligence, I leave within this time period, I get. There's a formula and stuff for that.
But I've heard of companies sort of structuring or accounting in a way to almost cheat people out of applicable bonuses and stuff, and it's just it's fucking shit. Why can't we all just behave? Why can't we all just act as though everybody else is also a real person?
Well, if you think of like the Entain Bet City court case.
Yeah, right. Brilliantly broken by casinonews.nl.
Yeah, and what I love is now Bet City have come back suing Entain, saying that Entain knew all about it. We've got emails, there was phone calls, there was meetings, and they're countersuing for more money.
Well, you got to build defamation in there, haven't you?
It's just the most power play Dutch business move possible.
But hey, if it's true, then to use John Grisham terminology, it blows the case wide open.
Well, so all of a sudden now you've changed it from a Bet City being sued to this gets settled out of court. So it does, and they'll just go, this will be too much hassle. Shit, a bunch of our execs did know about it, and we just want to make this go away now. So now this gets into the too difficult pile of let's put it behind us.
Yeah.
Let's forget we ever did this.
Let's pretend we never brought this up.
So well done to Team Bet City. Well played.
Well, then, yeah, let's see where that rolls up. But if it's true and they've got emails, etc., and they can prove that just individuals knew about it, then that's it.
Yeah,
it's game over.
Which, to be honest with you, would expect would come up during a due diligence process.
You would think so.
Like the fact that it actually looked worse for Entain if they hadn't have discovered it.
Fintan, I've just noticed your hoodie.
So,
what the fuck? For anybody who's not watching the video, watch the video. Go in about 10 minutes.
So I'm testing swag.
I'm on your boob. Must be what it's like to be one of your nipples. I feel so dirty. Don't you? If anybody is watching the video,
I'm sorry.
I'm so
sorry. I got carried. I was having a moment with John.
God, I feel shame.
So I've been testing swag. So I've got a T-shirt as well. The print quality, the hoodie quality is great. So it's actually a really good hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be super happy with this. But the print quality is not brilliant on the L logo.
Maybe we should get an embroidered one.
They had that option. They had that, so I'll try that one next. But yeah, the print didn't really come through.
Well, you got to see with those as well. You got to see how it washes with that kind of print.
Yeah, well, it's already cracking. It already looks like it's been washed, kind of thing. So I don't think it's going to hold up.
Interesting.
Quite well.
But we might look good faded. So, Baby Al has an obsession with Pluto. And what I've learned is that Pluto...
The Disney character or the former planet?
Disney character. Okay. And so I indulge him in this. And I buy him I only found this from one retailer. So I assumed it was a knockoff, but it had official Disney tags on it. So who knows? But I found him a Pluto bag for school, and it had a nose and ears and everything.
I love those bags.
I was like, if I could get one of these with like a laptop sleeve in it, I would be king shit. But his Pluto t-shirts, when they fade, they look amazing.
Yeah.
They look absolutely glorious. But anyway, sorry. So back to the gambling industry. The story that's occupying my waking hours so much is the Chicago casino. Because well, if you look at even the major casino operators globally, they often have a reasonable amount of leveraged debt, but they've got rolling revenues and all of that, and they're still appealing to lenders. They own real estate, etc. in most cases, unless they've sold them under an REIT. Mostly they're not what you'd describe as cash rich. There's only a few that are cash rich, and it's like your MGM and your Caesars where they've sold their property.
Yeah.
And I'm not dissing Bally's at any point in this, right? But they've got this. They've got the license for Chicago, right? They've got permission. I think they've purchased the property, which is the old Printworks, if I remember correctly. Things are in motion. Mm-hmm. But now there's big doubts about them being able to actually pay for the project. And there's a talk of a takeover bid from one of the major shareholders and all sorts. Now, a casino in Chicago, I mean, there aren't that many places in the US that have got a casino in a major metropolitan area. Certainly not a place like Chicago. I mean, Boston has, and doing handsomely. Everybody's salivating at the thought of New York, but that's the key. It's got to be in a metropolitan area. It's got to be in the city. And of course, with the major cities, you're talking about quite old infrastructure. and very, very expensive property. I mean, probably not peak Vegas expensive where it was like fucking 17 million an acre or whatever it was, but pretty friggin' expensive and difficult to work, difficult to close streets. You know, it's just staggeringly complicated and expensive. And they've done most of the hurdles, right? But so you've got this shareholder who's like, yeah, we're proposing a takeover bid, and I think the bid was $15 a share, right? Which is not a lot when it comes down to it for a business that has pretty significant holdings in the gambling industry.
Well, you can't just say 15 is not a lot, because that depends, right?
Well, I suppose you can say somebody earning $1 a day is earning okay. It depends on the economy where they're earning it.
Well, it depends on how many shares there are and versus revenue and all that.
Sure. But the key to all of this, I think, is that the company is leveraged.
It's a small premium. All right. So, sorry, just to cut across. So, Bally's is currently trading at about $13.60. So, yeah, so 15 is a small premium.
It's a tiny premium.
Bally off the mark.
But I think, yeah, I don't know what the share price was at previously, but I dare say it probably jumped a little at talk of takeover. So maybe it was lower, but you know, the thing is,
it was at about $10, $11.
So that's a slightly better premium, but still not great.
No, it jumped in November. Yeah, so it's been trading about $13 and change since November.
But the company's leveraged. I mean, the debt level, if I remember correctly, is over 7 times earnings, which is pretty big. And it puts them at risk of a takeover, as we're seeing.
Which would be part of the issue. So when you look at the share price, so that $15 also includes all the debt. So you're kind of like we're buying the shares, but we're also taking on responsibility for.
But if I were an MGM, if I were maybe Sands, and here's the controversial bit: if I were DraftKings or one of those babies, I'd be looking at this and I'd be going, let's suggest a JV with a takeover down the line. I'd be like, let's suggest a JV so that they can get the finance, the 800 million or whatever left that they need to finance this Chicago casino. Then nobody else is going to be able to buy them because of this JV, because we'll have that written in. And then 2 years down the line, yeah, sure, they'll cost a little bit more. But and if I were an online operator, if I were a cash-heavy online operator, I'd be looking at that and I'd be going, do you know what? We would get a whole raft of casinos. We'd get massive database, etc. I mean, it's not so. Not if I'm not saying just a land-based company should look at this. I'm saying like I think the online geezers should look at this and go, let's have a think about this. Let's think about this as a marketing tool. And also, I mean, a casino in Chicago, I would say that there's a good chance it's going to make money. Quite a lot. But anyway, so, but the whole thing just looks a bit messy, and they're clearly overextended and they're struggling to raise the revenue. And I think if somebody comes in with a JV offer and it's another operator, I think they'll take it. I would, because it'll stop them being taken over in the short term. It'll increase their value. And so in the longer term, they'll be worth more. It's almost everybody wins. Almost. But anyway, what do I know? I don't even have hair.
Because they've already got some deals in place with DraftKings, I think. I think they're the partner in some. I think DraftKings does some of the sportsbook stuff for them.
Well, Bally's has made great strides in the last couple of years. I mean, they've done a lot, but doing a lot is expensive.
Yeah, and it's one of those things as well where I think the shareholder, the KNF growth guys are saying, look, stop doing online, focus on the land-based, which makes a lot of sense. you can white label the online stuff from a DraftKings or something, just so you've got the product without doing any of the work. And then that would probably save a ton of cash, which they could use to pay off debt and sort out Chicago. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Well, I did see that. Somebody was saying about selling GameSys.
Oh, that's right. They bought GameSys, didn't they?
But I mean, that's worth a sizable amount of cash. But so if they've got agreements to do the casino, then there will be time factors in that, times at which they've got to complete certain things. They're not going to be able to leave just a chunk of real estate in the middle of Chicago to rot until they've saved up enough quarters. And if you're selling a business the size and value of GameSys, which is $1 billion plus, it's going to take time. So I don't think that's a realistic option. I think there will be time factors in the contract agreements that will basically make that impossible.
Yeah, because you've got, like, you know, if it's GameSys, it's Jackpot Joy in the UK, it's Virgin Games, it's like there's some very good brands and businesses on the back of that. Like, they're not like, yeah, I'd forgotten about the GameSys thing, because like if they own GameSys, it's like they are actually a major online casino player. Jackpot Joy is a, you know, phenomenal bingo / casino brand who know exactly, on their own platform, who know exactly what they're doing, some of the smartest guys in the industry. So,
and if they're listening, sponsorships are available.
Yes, we'll happily, or we'll take credits for Noel's new hotel in London. That's totally fine as well. So yeah, it's a, but then, you know,
it just looks like a mess, doesn't it?
It's a mess. They're trying to do too much. Focus on, you know, if
bigger businesses than them have come down through overtrading.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Capital's more expensive. Interest rates are, you know, when was this deal done? Yeah, 2021, right? So a lot's changed. A lot's changed in 2021. So, and then they've been hit with fines. Like GameSys was hit with a 6 million fine in the UK. So that's gotta hurt. So yeah,
you're kidding me? It's just about enough to pay off a top executive.
So yeah, it's you can't be bleeding. Look, cash is king. You can't be bleeding cash. If you've got a ton of debt, that causes problems. But then, yeah, the 15 then does seem cheap when you've got a, you know, Jackpot Joy is a serious brand. So ignoring even just the land-based stuff. But what'll end up happening is this is all going to get chopped up for parts. This will be a classic, like somebody will take one property off them and somebody will take another property and somebody will take the online stuff. And this now becomes a scrapyard kind of.
There's another factor in this as well, though.
Go on.
A couple of major sports teams in Chicago are looking to develop a new stadia. And that would be a great way to get some public money in and offset some costs. Plus, generate immense foot traffic. Yeah. So actually, that could be a major factor. If they're not having those conversations already, they are mental. I'm sure they are. But it's if you know, look at Mrs. Adelson and the move that she made in Texas. You know, it's a big fucking deal, and it's not coming as a surprise the direction that's going in. And this could be really, really interesting. And like I say, if I were DraftKings, I would be all over this. I'd be looking at this and I'd be going, do you know what we could get if we can leverage? Ooh, let's have a talk.
Yeah, but they need to focus on their knitting as well. So, you know, it's they've enough.
Yeah,
to
but
do
like you
to-
say, if you took apart the Bally's sort of structure, there's a serious amount of cash in there, and there's an incredible number of assets, most of which are really, really healthy. It's just the acquisition of them has left them with that seven times or whatever leverage.
yeah, but I think it's like if you're DraftKings, you need to show your path to profitability, right? That's their whole thing. So we overinvest in a state launch, and then we make it back, and we grow, and we become profitable, and then so their whole story's been, you know, now that the state launches are slowing down, profitability should be kicking in. You know, they're losing market share to Flutter. I think if they turn around and go, yeah, we're going to buy a bunch of land-based assets or something like that, it'd be just chaos for the share price. It's just way too confusing.
Maybe.
I think a JV deal or something like that, or we provide, like they've already got some deals in place with Bally's, so like we provide this, and this. But then if you're Bally's and you've bought a game sys and then you've got to turn around to a DraftKings to save you, then you know that's all. Like if you've spent billions on game sys, you've got other issues. So
I genuinely, I can't wait to see what path this is going to take. I think it's going to be. I think. Let me put it this way: I'm going to draw a second set of eyebrows on and wear a cap. I'm going to put the second set up here. For anybody watching in black and white, that is right where my hairline probably was once. And I'll just take my hat off when I'm really surprised.
Yeah. So the story I was looking at was, and I think I think there's a really interesting trend here of algorithms. All right, so obviously AI right now is the whole kind of hot topic, and AI. So we've gone from blockchain to AI. Problem with AI is even the AI companies don't really understand how the algorithm works or how the tools. And you know, we had somebody on explain AI to us years ago, and it was literally just saying like it's just equations.
That was Dr. Auer.
That was Dr. Auer. I knew it was somebody smart. And when you look at AI, when the companies, so like the companies themselves can't really, like OpenAI or Google, can't really explain how it works. And then they don't really want to explain how it works either, which is the other part of it. And then they definitely don't want to talk about how the data, how it gets trained and where they got the data from for the training. And there's a clip floating around for the CEO of OpenAI, and she's really avoiding the question of where did the data come from. But I think this kind of algorithm, like these algorithms get applied to these AI tools, to CV screening. So like just changing a name on a CV or keywords, like it's like old school. Like I was reading some stuff the other day where people are, because you got all these like online job application tools, and what they're doing is it's like old school SEO where they're putting in keyword stuffing on their CV, but making it white font. So if a human reads it, they don't see it. But obviously the tools see it. Which used to be like back in the old days. That used to be how you got your website ranking on Google.
Yep.
So there's these kind of like gaming the AI systems to get your CV through the automatic screening process. And I think there's some real, like, you know, auditing algorithms and understanding the decisions that algorithms are making and why will become more and more and more important over time. So there's a really interesting court case in New Jersey where a bunch of the casinos, land-based casinos, are being sued for price fixing or price collusion. But what's really interesting is they haven't, it's not like the casino owners all sat down like a meeting of the five families and agreed to charge like $2.99 on a Tuesday night, on a wet Tuesday night kind of thing for a room. But so there's this company, I love it. It's called Rainmaker, which is just the best fucking company name. So this company called Rainmaker has got this pricing tool. So all hotels use pricing tools and pricing algorithms. But it seems that a lot of the Atlantic City casinos are all using the same pricing software to price up the rooms. So you've got this centralized tool doing pricing, and obviously it's got access to quite a lot of data. And it opens up quite an interesting conversation around, is it deliberately colluding prices? Is it just happenstance? Is it this is just what happens if everybody's deciding pricing in the same way because they're all using the same tools? And I think that transparency around, like, so I think there's an interesting story there, but I think there's also like just the algorithms making decisions and accountability of that is super interesting.
I think there's the potential for a knock-on suit there from the hotel operators to their software provider.
Well,
Look,
really,
we got sued for collusion. Fuck you.
Yeah, well, you could argue that it's like, well, you know, I was based on your data, based on travel patterns. These were the decisions, and I helped you increase your revenue. And but it is like if everybody's increased their prices, then everybody increased the revenue, and you create this virtuous circle where you have to be using this software. But then there's a famous story out of General Electric. So General Electric obviously had some issues with price fixing and things, and GE had a winking policy, right? So the exec could get up, and he'd have all his sales guys, and he'd go, "We really shouldn't price fix. It is against the law, and I don't want anybody to price fix." And then the big wink at the end, and that's how they communicated like their price fixing policies and procedures. So there was and then some new manager came in, gave the lecture, and didn't wink, and then was famously called out for not winking at the end. Yeah, it's true. It's a true story. So it happened. But then what's really interesting is if you look at other markets, like if you look at online, so online sports books or online casinos, is there? So I was thinking like, okay, for sportsbook, it's slightly different because you've got like the odds of an event, but you could see situations where bookies start following each other because obviously there's the overround or the kind of the profit built into the odds, and it'd be interesting, like, which I think is like if you look at say Prime Sports has just launched in New Jersey. And so they're coming in and going like, we've got best prices. We don't care if you're a winner elsewhere. We'll take anybody's bet. And off they go. And so their whole marketing strategy is just like, we will take your bet. And it's the same for, so I think Circus Sports does the same thing out of Vegas. And then on the global scale, you've got the likes of Pinnacle will kind of do the same. But what's really interesting is that they're actually the outliers in the industry, where the industry typically, shuts down accounts of winners. And there's this really interesting thing of like, what, like if these guys can do it, what are these guys doing differently that you couldn't do? And is it just a case of, so there's this really interesting thing of like, well, actually maybe you could argue excluding winners or shutting down accounts of like sharper accounts is price fixing.
Talk about putting the cat amongst the pigeons. Fucking hell, Finton. I just need to take you to task on the sentence and the implication, not really so much of an implication as a bold statement, that within the gambling industry that sports books shut down winners. Finton.
Oh, well, they do.
Yeah, they do.
They absolutely do.
I've always found that really peculiar because it never results in good press.
I always wanted to send out. I always wanted to. I had a proposal to make it a positive. All right. I wanted to do like a gift pack with a certificate that you'd send out to the punter and say, "You fucking beat us."
and just like celebrate the event and just flip it around like it's an award, and you've pulled our pants down, you got us, you're better than us, fair play, here's your certificate, and just make it official. But apparently that's another thing to do. I'm sure there's lots of legal implications to that. I don't know.
But it's a great idea. Instead of trying to hide it, own it, and just be like, actually, you did great. Maybe you should come work for us.
You're much better at NFL punting than our traders are, or whatever, right? So I think there's some interesting things there. So, but then when you think about it, actually, the casino games would be much easier because it's just an RTP. So for slots and stuff, so it'd be really interesting to understand. Again, if you take these algorithms and everyone's buying from the same suppliers, is there this kind of implied, like if everybody's running the same games, everyone's promoting the same Starburst or whatever it is, whatever the popular game is right now, is everybody running it at the same RTP? Is that collusion? I don't know. Price fixing? I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
It raises all sorts of questions. So, I mean, fundamentally, everybody is offering the same stuff. I'm really surprised that there isn't more exclusivity with game content, with side bets and stuff like that, because there's very little differentiation between products, and it comes down to marketing and what's the word I'm looking for? That thing when people see a brand and they go, "Oh yeah, that's my brand."
Brand affinity, branding.
Yeah, affinity. That's probably the word I'm looking for. But it's interesting in North America, particularly in sort of the DraftKings era, the way that those two brands particularly are protecting what they have by setting the bar so incredibly fucking high for anybody to try and compete. In terms of player acquisition, their marketing budgets must be extraordinary. More than enough to pay off several top executives, I'm sure. But it is super interesting that the differentiator right now between most of these brands is their marketing.
It's actually so there's a little bit of it's the marketing they're doing now, which is part of it, but it's also the marketing they did for daily fantasy sports when it was a big gray area. It still is a bit of a gray area. So it was that, like, there was one of the stats I saw was for during the DFS era, DraftKings and FanDuel spent as much money on TV advertising around NFL as the entire alcohol industry combined.
That's quite a lot of money.
So that marketing blitz that they did early and building that database, which is why, like, if you listen to what the guys from Underdog Fantasy, like some of these guys are saying, like, DraftKings and FanDuel are trying to keep us out. So the new up-and-comer kind of fantasy-ish products out there are the actual competitors to DraftKings and FanDuel, not the MGMs of this world, who also has sizable marketing budgets, but doesn't have that legacy. Like, MGM's probably the number 3, but it doesn't have that DFS legacy that the other two have, and that's the key differentiator.
I think that's what made the one whose name I can't remember really interesting. The one that's so that they also own the stores and they sell sports merchandise.
Oh, Fanatics.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what made Fanatics really interesting, because it's a new pool of people in theory who have an interest in sports, and they have this built-in customer thing.
No, look, this is so the okay. Like, there's the classic one of, right, we're going to require them through sportsbook and cross-sell them to casino. Right, every fucking sportsbook.
I'm going to acquire them through hats and cross-sell them to gambling.
Right, it's exactly the same scenario. Effectively, if you draw the diagram of people who want to buy sports merch and people who gamble, and then there's the little bit of a intersect of the two, whatever the intersect of the two, the people who want to gamble are probably already gambling, and then the people who just want to buy the merch and don't want to gamble aren't interested. So I think there's this isn't like they will get a few customers through. Like, say, let's say like the traditional kind of sportsbook to casino cross sells about 10%, 8 to 10%. But they probably would have done casino anyway. They're probably a multi-product punter anyway, and maybe you've just nudged them, or maybe you've increased the spend a little bit. It's probably the same thing. There's probably X% would have done it anyway, and maybe they're just going to choose Fanatics over somebody else. So it's more about stealing market share than creating new market share.
Sure.
Assuming the product's there. The other one is ESPN Bet, which would be, the analogy would be Sky Bet in the UK leveraging Sky Sports for promotion, but Sky Bet had real integration into Sky Sports TV programming, tons and tons of ads, dedicated TV channels like Sky Poker and these kind of things, where ESPN Bet as a product doesn't have that deep integration into
that's where they've gone wrong with it so far.
And it took years, but this isn't a we turn it around in 2 years. This is going to take a decade.
Did you see that survey recently where bettors basically said, I use FanDuel, I use DraftKings or whatever, but the place I go to check the scores is ESPN. That's what they need to start leveraging. That's what they need to start using as their funnel.
But anybody who's run a live score website, it's a wall of traffic. It's an absolute wall of traffic. And then a tiny percentage click the betting. And, it's the Walmart model, right? So it's stack it high, low margins. You will get a small percentage through who will then go on and place the bet. So it's the other one is the fantasy products. So the UK, so Sky Bet had the Super Six, which was like win 100K, make your accumulator or your parlay for America. Massive promotion of that. Really soft way of getting people in the door and kind of widening the net. A lot of women would play, so kind of outside the traditional kind of sports bettor kind of thing. It's very soft products, free to play.
In theory, Fintan, but as reported on, I think it was CDC yesterday, as I'm recording this, women make up apparently 51% of sports bettors.
No, they don't. That's blokes using their wives' credit card details so they get a second free bet.
Or perhaps there are more people that identify as women than we thought.
No, that's bonus abuse, mate. That's just I've maxed out all the bonuses.
But actually, there are several businesses that are established for female bettors. One in particular that I cannot remember the name of for the life of me. And it was featured really heavily in this article, but it was basically a woman who recognised actually women want to know about this shit as well, but with a slightly different perspective, and they're going great guns. So it's to say that women are not a significant part of that market is just bonkers.
It's
might not be 51.
It's not 51. It might be 20.
20 is not a small percentage. If your profits rose 20% in a year, you wouldn't be going, yeah, it's only 20%. If you found a bank account with 20% interest, you're going to go, no, I'm going to go with the 1.6% over here.
Yeah, but 20% of the people doesn't mean 20% of the profits.
No, it doesn't. But let's treat everybody equally in our utopian gambling land. Also, what's going on with your hair at the moment?
I need a haircut. That's pretty much it.
It has gone wild.
It's gone long. There's a lot going on at the back.
It looks almost like it's one piece. It's like Lego hair.
It's we've hit the point now where it's broken under its own weight. So we've kind of gone from slightly afro to just collapsed Nova Star, or I don't know. I think it's gone to white dwarf stage or whatever it is. It's the haircut has been booked.
Did you just describe my sister?
No.
Because she's not technically a dwarf yet.
Yes.
No, she's 4'10", and I think the official dwarf height would be 4'9".
Oh, really? Yes.
Yeah, but obviously, when you use the term dwarf, you're talking about dwarfism as a medical condition.
I was talking about white dwarfs, the stuff in space where it's a star collapsing.
Yeah, that too. That's what I was talking about. My sister's a collapsing star. What did you think I meant? Jesus, Finton. So we've talked extensively about the world of gambling, which is really unusual.
Which we should also thank our sponsors.
We really should.
So big shout out to Clarion Gaming, who are event organizers extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire. Yeah.
And you can't spell extraordinaire without AI, Finton. I don't know what the link is there, but you also can't spell blockchain without AI, can you?
Oh, don't start the blockchain nerds. All the blockchain guys, well, it's a bit changed now. So they're in this kind of state of flux. So when Bitcoin was down, all the blockchain nerds were pivoting furiously to AI projects. Now that Bitcoin's back up again, they're kind of caught in this limbo of like, oh, I'm an AI expert, I'm a blockchain expert. So there's this whole thing going on right now. So yeah, Clarion Gaming, great bunch of lads, ladettes. They organise IGB Amsterdam, which is coming up in the summer.
It is. Good spot.
Obviously, Ice, Barcelona 2025.
Barcelona.
Barca.
It's going to be big.
Home of my favourite steak
No,
restaurant.
Finton.
Beyond excited.
Barca is the football club, not the city.
Oh, really?
The city is Barna.
I'll take it back. Oh, really? Oh, see, facts. Knowledge bomb.
What can I say? Had a client in Barcelona.
Did you?
Really, really sucked going over for staff meetings. Sucks to be me. But actually, tapas as a carnivore, Spain is super easy.
Oh, just give me a plate of meat. Let's go.
Yeah. Everywhere else is not so easy. America is pretty easy, to be fair, because you can buy steak and eggs everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, Barcelona 2025.
Yeah.
Let's take John to my favourite steak restaurant, so that'll be an experience.
Assuming I can afford to be there, Finton. Which reminds me, sponsorships are available. But our other sponsors are the tremendous Optimove.
The iGaming industry's #1 CRM platform.
Number one. And for a reason. Yeah. No, not because of legacy marketing. No. Number one, because their product's awesome.
So if you do want to cross-sell your sportsbook to your casino and you want to get it above 10%, plug in Optimove. They'll make it happen.
Honestly, the stats you'll see with the Optimove software will blow your mind.
And you can do it with a small team. You don't need an army of people. You can scale. They were doing AI before it was sexy. They've just been doing this forever because they know AI is just a bunch of equations. And they're not
I think that businesses like Optimove are part of the reason why AI is sexy. I think that they brought sexy back in the style of Justin Timberlake.
They did. That's fair. That is very fair. So yeah, give them there's a link in the thingy below. Just book a demo. Take 30 minutes out of your day. Do the demo, and you decide. And we're very confident you're going to like what you see.
Yeah, I'd be very, very surprised if you're not. If you're not, by all means, contact us and we'll see if we can send you a sticker to help you feel better.
Or a mug, possibly even a hoodie.
Ooh. Wow. I don't even have... I've got some stickers on my desk. I haven't stuck them to anything. We haven't got car stickers.
We're not doing car stickers.
But I saw the greatest car sticker of my life, right?
Was it honk if you're horny?
How did you know? No, I did, but this is slightly difficult to explain, and I'm sorry if I have explained this before.
It's a car. So how can it be difficult to explain a car sticker?
No, this was such a peculiar car sticker, and I identified it because I am a nerd about certain things.
Go on then.
So driving along and I was with Fern and the kids. So been out doing something. It was dark, I think. And we come up behind another car, and Fern's driving. I'm like, "What's that car sticker?" And Fern's like, "I've got no idea." And this car's zoomed off. We have to wait until we catch up to it again, and we're like edging closer and closer and closer at this junction. And I realized, so there's a really old, really, really low budget horror movie made in about 1980-ish called Basket Case, about a guy who had a conjoined twin. It was separated when they were born, but his conjoined twin is terribly, terribly deformed and travels everywhere with him in a basket and kills lots of people. And it's very, very funny, very, very silly, and it's a terrific, terrific movie, really unusual. But the promotional artwork is the creature in the basket. His name is Belial. It's like, yeah, let's christen it with some really nice name so nobody will think it's a monster in a basket. No, let's call it Belial. And he's got his little fingers coming out of the lid, and the lid's slightly ajar. You can just see his eyes. And it was a car sticker of that.
My God.
On the boot. So it sort of looks as though he's peering out of the boot. Trunk for any American fans. And I've looked and looked, and you cannot find this fucking car sticker anywhere. So I reckon they've had it made. It
sounds custom.
It is a thing of beauty. And people are passionate, and they do this. I was once in a coffee shop in Norwich, and the barista had a T-shirt with a little thing on the knocker, like on your hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a good couple of minutes to figure out what it was. It was right at the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre when Leatherface is dancing around in frustration. When Sally Hardesty escapes from him, he's dancing around in absolute frustration with the chainsaw above his head, and it's the silhouette of him with the chainsaw above his head. And I said to the guy, "Where did you get that? That's absolutely beautiful." And he's like, "Oh, I'm a student at the university, and this was one of my projects, and I made it myself." And he said, "Come in, pop in and see me another time, and I'll sort you one out." And I can't remember what the coffee shop was. I can't remember where it was. I was in Norwich looking at a place to rent. Never went back. Didn't get what would have been a two of a kind. It's beautiful. But anyway, I digress. Join us next week for more niche Norwich clothing talk. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Gambling Files podcast, please find us on LinkedIn. Give us a big, juicy, succulent like. That nearly went wrong. You can find us under the name The Gambling Files Podcast. You can find us on Twitter under The Gambling Files. I think the handle is just @Gambling Files. You can connect to myself, John Bruford, or Fintan Costello, also on LinkedIn. We're also both on Twitter. And you can find all of our previous episodes at www.thegamblingfiles.com. If you enjoyed it, please share, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.